Do you not have an internet connection?
It's just like, it says that I'm connected, but it's just spinning. It's not even spinning. It's like,
Are you on the VO I don't think we'll be able to.
oh, there we go.
You have 5:30. Call this meeting to order. I invite you to rise and join us in the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Desha,
Yes.
Steve, Robin,
Yes.
Brad, Jill, yes, Jane, and Chad.
Yes.
We have one member joining us by phone this evening. And we have two other members who were confused about the time the meeting started, so they'll be here in a few minutes. So we're going to go ahead and start since we have so many speakers.
Hello,
Steve, Mark here. I have you on speaker.
Mark. Hello.
All right. So you should have speakers, and then also the mic is near the phone, so everything should go well.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. First tonight, I'd like to welcome all of you to our meeting. We usually don't have such a big crowd, so it's kind of good to see all the faces. And we will start by recognizing anyone who wishes to speak. Before we do that, though, I do want to read a statement pertaining to the public comment section. The Unit 40 Board welcomes comments from our community during this time. Speakers are limited to 5 minutes, and we will notify the speaker when there is 1 minute remaining in their allotted time. We ask that all speakers identify themselves and share their information in a respectful and courteous manner without the use of profanity and personal attacks. Please keep in mind your audience may include children. We appreciate your anticipated cooperation and welcome any comments that will benefit our goal of supporting the best education for the students of Unit 40. Thank you. All right. Our first speaker tonight will be Angelique Bridges.
Thank you, Effingham School Board. My name is Angelique Bridges, and I have two children that are currently enrolled in Effingham Unit 40. I have been asked tonight to speak on behalf of all of the parents behind me, beside me, out the door, for masks to be optional this school year. We as parents respect this board. We respect our administrators. We want to bring everyone together. We want us to be unified. That being said, respect our concerns as parents. We know what is best for our students. We can make those decisions on our own if we decide to send our child with a mask to school. Every single school-aged child that I have come in contact with over the past year has had one major complaint about school: masks. They're hot, they hinder breathing, they hinder speech problems, they increase their acne, which the teenagers really hate. They don't allow for smiles or facial expressions, and our children are quickly becoming depressed. Their mental health is of utmost importance. Masks and everything COVID have absolutely decimated an entire generation. Why are we punishing the youngest of our students, the most vulnerable, and those who are the least likely to get sick? Many of you don't even have masks on right now. And I know that the governor has told you that he will take away your funding if you don't comply. And I know that is a tremendous amount of pressure. And that is a very difficult decision that you have in front of you. And whatever decision is made, it will not be taken lightly. I know that you guys will not take that lightly. So shouldn't we teach our children to defend their rights in the face of fear and outreach? This is not a law. There are already parents around the state that are gearing up into the courts to take the governor to court. There are many other school districts who are respecting parents and giving us the mask options, regardless of what the governor says. By your own survey that you sent out to the parents, 85% of parents support masks being optional. And I would suggest that that number is probably about 95%. The 85 probably just represents the people that actually filled out the survey. Not one parent that I have come in contact with has said that they want to put the mask on their child. If our voices as parents aren't heard by our local governing bodies, then the foundation of this great nation will begin to break down. For what recourse will we have then? The time is now. Unmask our kids.
Okay, Angie Jansen would be next.
Good evening. My name is Angie Jansen, and I am a reading interventionist at Southside Elementary. First and foremost, I would like to thank all of you for serving on our local school board. This job is not easy and demands a lot of your time and dedication. I appreciate your willingness to listen to our concerns and take what people have to say tonight seriously. I am speaking tonight on behalf of many fellow coworkers and myself. We are asking that you, the school board, vote in favor of masks being optional for the upcoming school year. Many school districts around us were offering this option to their students and staff until the mandate was put into place. In fact, Pritzker stated, families should be involved in making decisions for their own families, and school districts and school boards will make decisions for the schools within their districts. Now Pritzker says we can't start school unless we agree to a mask mandate. Communities are rising up. There are some area schools that are standing against the mandate, and other districts are meeting to discuss their next steps. This virus is not impacting our children's physical health, but it is affecting their social and emotional well-being and the quality of their education. Kids are being quarantined that are not even sick. They are missing a lot of school, and as a result are getting very far behind in their education. They are also being taught to have fear. I listened to many of my students discuss among themselves that they wish they did not have to wear a mask and that they wish school would be normal again. They miss playing with their friends and working together. They have expressed that they are scared. I don't know about you, but that breaks my heart when I hear 5- and 6-year-olds talk that way. As a reading interventionist, it is very difficult to teach children how to read while wearing a face covering. When children are learning to read, they imitate letters by the sound the mouth makes. Being able to see the motions of the mouth is very important. This is key when teaching phonics. Try listening to a small child read or answer discussion questions while he or she is wearing a mask. Many students are often soft-spoken, and it makes it very challenging to hear what they are communicating. Wearing a mask diminishes the quality of overall instruction. In addition, children do not get to see their teachers smile or their friends' smiles due to mask hiding facial expressions. Please understand that many children are coming to school with very filthy masks. Masks are not being washed, and if they are clean, they are often wet by mid-morning due to a child's breath or sweat. Kids are constantly touching their faces and fiddling with their masks. As a result, more germs are being transmitted. The state is pushing teachers into a corner. There will be many teachers that leave and find new professions, especially if being vaccinated is mandated. I am asking that you please let us have the freedom to choose. I respect people's decisions of wearing masks, and I ask that you respect other people's decision of not wanting to wear a mask. Nothing worth fighting for is ever easy, and I pray that if you are a Christian, that you ask God to help you make the right decision for our community. You sent out a survey, and the majority agreed that they want masks to be optional. We live in the United States of America. This is supposed to be the land of the free, and I don't feel that free anymore. We have to start at the local level. I am asking you to take a stand, whether you believe in masks or not, to vote for our freedom of choice. We need to respect each other's choices, regardless if one has been vaccinated or not. My own family physician does not recommend the vaccine or wearing masks, and I want to make that choice for myself and my own family. And since I am unaware of everyone's opinion in this room, I am asking all of you to raise your hand if you would like masks to be optional for all. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay, all right, let the record show that Brad Loff has entered the meeting at 5:39. Thank you. Shannon Lewis.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I am a third grade teacher here in Unit 40, and I am the parent of a high school student. There is already such political divide on this topic. I don't want to take sides or get into a debate. All I'm asking for is that parents be able to make the best decision for their child. In my case, my daughter has asthma. She's had an emergency inhaler for years, only having to use it on occasion. That is until last year. With having to wear a mask for 5 hours a day, she increased to using her emergency inhaler to 3 times per day. Because wearing the mask makes it difficult for her to breathe. We've since had to take her to the doctor and increase her meds for a stronger dosage. So with the possibility of a mask mandate for up to 8 hours per day, I hate to see what that will do to her breathing and the extra headaches added too. That's why I believe parents should be able to decide what is the best option for their child. Even if a parent doesn't have a medical reason, it may be a social or emotional reason. Some parents may feel safer sending their child to school in a mask, and that should be their option. Some parents may not wish to send their child to school in a mask, and that too should be their option. It should be parent choice. Speaking of that, if you vote in favor of a mask mandate, will you keep the length of the school day the same as it currently is, 8 to 3? Since basically we are starting over like last year, would you consider shortening the length of the school day like you did last year? The shortened school day for my child was the only positive thing in having to wear a mask. 5 hours is much better than 7 to 8. That's because she was at the high school and they got out at lunchtime. Now, moving on to, from a teacher's point of view, if you vote for mask mandate, how will you handle remote learning for this school year? As you know, last year, school dismissed at 2 o'clock instead of 3 o'clock for pre-K to 8th grade students. That allowed teachers 1 extra hour from 2 to 3, and then our normal from 3 to 4 to prepare lessons in Seesaw and to make and get ready, work ready for all of the quarantined students. Honestly, as a teacher, it was very overwhelming to teach full-time with the mask and to keep up with the constant absentees in my class. Plus, we had 1 remote teacher per grade level last year to assist. And would that be an option again this year? Also, mentally, it is very difficult to teach all day in a mask. It is hard for my students who are 8-year-olds to hear my muffled voice through a mask. And it's hard for me to hear them speak. This way of teaching, in my opinion, is not fair to them, and they are not getting my best. All summer long, parents have been able to make the best decision for their child. If they wanted to send their child to camp in a mask, they did. If they chose to let their child play in sports or go to amusement parks or go to fairs, masked or unmasked, it was the parents' choice. There's already so much divide over this topic. I just ask that you take all of these voiced concerns from parents, from teachers, and if someone here from medical staff is going to speak, into consideration before you make your decision. I know that the district, as well as over 60 other surrounding districts, emailed asking for local control, and you got it. Please use it. I think other districts will stand with you. I know that Vandalia and Newton have already made masks optional. I realize that your decision could be based on fear of losing funding, and I get that. But at what cost do we sacrifice the physical, social, and emotional well-being of our children? At Central School, our motto states, doing what's best for children to learn and succeed. That's what we do. Please keep that in mind and make masks optional and let parents decide what is the best for their child. Thank you.
Okay, next is Andrea Wendley.
Hi, my name is Andrea Wendley, and I'm a parent to 3 children who attend Unit 40 and a proud member of this community. Since the Back to School Plan survey was sent out, additional guidance from the American Academy of Pediatrics, CDC, IDPH, and our governor have been released, all urging K-12 students, teachers, and staff to wear masks indoors and to prevent the spread of infection regardless of vaccination status. With your current proposal of masks required only for those vaccinated, but with no proof of vaccination or enforcement of the policy, in my opinion, this is not acceptable means of prevention to keep our schools open. I believe that regardless of our individual beliefs on mask wearing, that our collective goal is for the well-being of our children, our teachers and staff, and to keep our children in school. And the plan we had in place last year was very successful in preventing the spread and keeping our schools open. With our low community vaccination rate and increase in Delta cases locally, now is not the time to change our approach. In states like Florida, Louisiana, Texas, Arkansas, and Missouri, where masks were not required, schools that have already opened have been shut down within the first few weeks due to large outbreaks. Students belong in school for their mental health, socialization, and to receive a quality education that virtual learning can't provide. Consistent mask wearing will vastly limit the number of quarantined students due to close contacts and the number of students who contract COVID from their classmates or teachers. The new IDPH definition of close contacts is defined within 3 feet if masked, but 6 feet if unmasked. Given that our classrooms do not always provide the opportunity to space students out 6 feet from each other, this could greatly reduce the number of quarantines by masking. Not only is the Delta variant much more transmissible, but it's also affecting children much more than previous strains. In addition, vaccinations are not currently available for children that are 12, so that the families who would choose to protect them with a vaccine, though again, not requiring all to do, but they don't have the opportunity to do that yet. And until it becomes readily available to those who would choose to take it, I feel it's the responsibility of the board to take the measures necessary to keep our students safe and in school. I heard you reference at a previous meeting that masking our students wouldn't be the popular opinion in our community, yet I'm confident it would be more popular than the entire district moving to remote learning due to outbreaks. Now is not the time to make a decision based on popularity. Now is the time to make the responsible decision to keep our students in school where they belong. And I strongly urge you to follow the guidance of our local health officials, the AAP, CDC, IDPH, and our governor to implement a mask mandate to begin the school year and continue it safely. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Let the record show that Jane Wellenberg entered the meeting at 5:40. Okay, John Holland.
My name is Jonathan Holland. I tried to send you guys an email earlier today with a video that's been taken down by YouTube already, with a doctor talking some facts. And I've got wrote a few things down here, but I'm a concerned parent of 2 great kids that attend Unit 40 schools. When it comes to this pandemic that we've been painfully experiencing the last year and a half, I'm asking that you all follow the science when determining whether the mask date that our governor has issued regarding masks used in schools. If you look at his gubernatorial disaster proclamation, He's extended the disaster every month since this pandemic has been going, and the science has shown that the numbers have been falling month after month. The CDC has done a 180 in the last couple of weeks, going from masks are not required to masks are recommended. Where are the scientific studies on all the different types of masks worn by children and the faculty? Both of my kids have seasonal allergies and were afraid to sneeze or blow their nose in school last year for fear that they'd be sent home for quarantine. The masks do not help their case for their seasonal allergies either. My son was written up when his mask was pulled down from his face while playing basketball outside. My daughter, she would rather be homeschooled than go to school to see her friends if she is forced to wear a mask every day. When following the science, the transmission rates, death rates, hospitalization rates for children are extremely low when compared to other age groups. I know that no one wants to talk about death when it comes to children. However, following the science, the numbers point out that in Illinois, this is coming directly from the CDC website, all ages, or ages 0 to 17, all sexes, that is 0.5% and is lower than the national average. I'm sorry, but there are many other factors out there that account for much higher rates, and mental health is one of those issues. Dr. Jennifer Garrison, the superintendent at Vandalia, sits on the Illinois State Board of Education and has decided that her school is going to be continuing with masks as being optional for her students. Please consider these items when it comes to our physical and mental health and safety of our children. Thank you.
Okay, Alec Ring.
Yes.
Alec, sorry.
Didn't hear you, sorry. I'm Alec Ring. I unfortunately don't have a speech prepared, but I feel like I needed to say something. I have 4 kids in Unit 40 School District, and we keep talking about having the kids safe and sickness and COVID, but the mental issues that kids face now because of this has been greater. I've had multiple kids, unfortunately, have counseling because of the issues of not being with their friends, not getting to talk, the social aspect that's not being graded on some chart or followed and promoting some kind of numbers or agenda that one side or the other side wants to follow. I've seen it, unfortunately, in my firsthand in our family, the struggles that a kid going through puberty and adolescence is already difficult. And the mask and the distancing from all their other stuff, I think, is way worse than the side effects from COVID or the Delta variant or whatever else might be out there. I realize, too, that the superintendent's job is to protect the district assets. It's their main role, and I know the board listens to that, even though you guys all have freedom of choice, and I appreciate what you guys do on the board. It's a thankless job. You got a whole boardroom full of people that are obviously passionate about what they're doing, and there's no pay involved, obviously, on your side, and you're trying to do what's best. But ultimately with that, I realize that sometimes our arguments aren't going to matter much, because it's going to come down to, is the district going to get sued or not? Are we going to lose funding or not? It's all about the money. And that's a shame, because the overall mental health of all of our kids and the long term of that and the side effects of that are way bigger than what the physical effects have been here recently, in my opinion. With that, I hate to see that if masks are made mandatory, my vote is obviously optional, where we get a choice, we get freedom. But I'd hate to see a majority of the parents keep their kids home from school, where we don't send them if they've got to be forced to wear a mask. I'm sure a lot of parents, I don't want to have my kids away from school. I want them to learn. This is a great school district. But I'll keep them home if I need to. If it's safer for them to be at home without a mask and do that, I'll send them to school without a mask, but I don't want to send them to school with a mask. It's not good for their mental health. 2, I think we live, last time I remember, in a country with freedom. And I love that. I don't want that to change. I don't want it to change on the national level. I really don't want to change on the local level. When we lose our freedom of choice, of options, we throw a lot of things down the tube, more freedom down the tube, and it starts with one thing and it leads to another. I had a small conversation with my kids a week ago. They said, wouldn't it be horrible if that restaurant allowed smoking? And I'm like, no, it wouldn't. I said, I want a restaurant that can have smoking. I won't go there. That's my choice. I don't want to smoke. I don't want to be around people that smoke. It's pretty great to be able to do that, but they don't allow those restaurants. But I think they should. You should have that choice to be able to do that if you choose to. But I also have the choice then to not go to that restaurant, to not choose to be around that. That's freedom. Even though I don't want to be around it, but we live in a country where we should have that, as much freedom as possible. I hope we don't lose that in this meeting. I hope we don't lose our freedoms. I hope we don't take it away from our kids. I hope we teach them the freedom that we've experienced over our life and stop taking it away. That's all I have to say.
Okay, those are all the names I have, but is there anyone else that would like to address the board?
Hello, I'm Grace Butcher. I will be a senior this year at EHS, and I love this community, and I love this school. And it pains me to know that when I go to school this fall, I could have to have a social distance from my best friends and people I have known my entire life. I know that you guys have a very difficult decision to make. Like people have said before me, you could lose funding, people could pull their kids, so many different things could happen. But this last school year, I have experienced something I've never felt before. School has always been very, very fun to me, and I have enjoyed it. I love school. I was one of those kids, and I was proud of it. I had awesome teachers, and I had such a great connection with them all. This past year, I lost that. And it was hard. And it was something I'd never been through, and we all have never been through. And I know I wasn't the only one. Sorry. I know what you guys have to make, this decision you have to make here soon is insane. You guys have a lot on your plate, and I understand that. And like he said before me, you don't get paid for this job. I understand that. But please, I am a healthy, going to be 18-year-old. I think that the way I felt last year could hurt me a lot more than what COVID could. I have experienced emotions that I have never felt before, and I never want to feel again. I hope that you guys will take into account that our parents know us very, very well, and that they will make the best decision for us all. I appreciate you guys, and I know what you guys do is very, very tough, but I hope that you will take into account what people have said here today. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Not really a public speaking type of person, but I figure if the 18-year-old can do it, so can I. Okay, so I'm Elizabeth Bubbles. The biggest question I have is kind of what everybody touched on, is where is our freedom to choose? CDC recommends masks. Who is the governor to override the CDC and mandating them? That's not fair to our kids. I have 5 kids in this school who have, again, been through the same thing this young lady has. We have sought counseling. We have had many, many, many long talks. Again, with adolescents going through puberty. This is terrible. Just look around through here today. You choose to wear a mask, and that's great for you. That is your choice. But out of this entire room of people, there's 3. And we live in a democracy where a majority rules. I mean, why can't it be optional? Just like in this room today. I just walked into the high school thinking that the board meeting was there. I'm kind of relatively new to this area. This is the first board meeting I've been to. But nobody in that room except for one person was wearing a mask. They were all in the conference room. That was at our local high school. Why should it be different in 2 weeks whenever all these kids are there? Why mandate something whenever parents should be in control of their own children's lives? This is a decision for parents to make, for children to make themselves. I don't understand. I guess it's like somebody telling you that you can only wear blue or you have to have orange juice with breakfast. Why can the federal government tell us how to raise our own children? It's just something that I don't understand. And like this young lady here, I hate to see so many other kids go through that many mental health issues. Then there's no need for it. I mean, most parents have common sense. Am I right, parents? Are you going to send your kids to school with fever or vomiting? Any parent in their right mind does not do that. And it's time to unmask our kids.
Okay, anyone else? Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is plan for safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services.
Okay, last month, or July 26th, when we had our last discussion, there were some changes that were brought forward at that point. Obviously, discussion, and you've heard some of the feedback I've shared with you in regards to the executive order, the IDPH frequently asked questions. I sent you a letter from our county health department. I sent you a letter from our legal attorney, legal representative, in regards to the legalities that of the situation. But one of the things, I'll just kind of go through this. On the overview, we took out, removed, and revised. The plan may be revised based upon conditions and transmission and coverage, just to make that clear. Also, we talked about, we talked about remote instruction. I want to make sure that was spelled out clear. Remote instruction would only be provided under the ISBE parameters, and those parameters are those who have not received a vaccine or who are not eligible, and they also must be under quarantine. So research shows, obviously, that, and I think we bared out last year, that in-person instruction is much more conducive for students than the alternative. So that's from the ISBE, the parameters moving forward. And so that's what is in, kind of cleared that up, made that a little clearer on bottom of page 1 and into page 2. We talked about operation. We talked about operation being in 5 days a week, and also the regular school day would be from 8 to 3. Obviously, I think there's 1 or 2 district or schools that are maybe a little different than 8 to 3, but that was the plan when we talked about it July 26th. So I guess with that situation, are there any questions on that so far? Any updates, changes? Feedback?
Weren't there 2 options? There was the remote instruction option, if they were with the vaccine and under quarantine, but wasn't there another one if it was like a homebound student?
There's homebound, which we've always had in the district and across the state, short-term, intermittent missing of school. That is handled on a case-by-case basis, and in those individuals, we've had a teacher or staff member meet with that individual, that student, usually at the library, about 5 hours a week.
Okay, and we didn't have that in here?
No, it's
Okay,
it's
that
already
is
part of
already
the
there.
school. I mean,
Okay.
it's already.
All right, so that would be
That's always
Short-term
been-
medical.
Yeah, it'd be a short-term medical.
Okay.
We didn't put it in there, it's because it's already a state law.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Then we talked about masks. So the idea was at the discussion at that point, there was an option for school districts to have an option for masks and not required. And so the action or the language that we had talked about was that masks would be recommended who are not fully vaccinated. However, this one provincial standard would be optional. Now, the discussion we had at that point in that meeting was whether we would have staff be required to wear masks. That was the discussion at the board meeting. So since that time, obviously the governor and the IDPH mandate came out on August 4th, which basically, and I shared that information with you, but real quick. So right now, Executive Order 2021-18 requires that all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to P12 schools wear a mask while indoors regardless of vaccination status. That's the executive order from the governor moving forward. So I guess there's discussion there in regards to options. There was no vote on the previous plan at that point. So there are two options in front of the board. One is to follow the mandate, governor's executive order of August 4th, 2021, where all individuals are required to wear masks. And then the other option is based upon the discussion that we held on 7/26. Mask use is recommended for those who are not fully vaccinated. However, this one prevention strategy would be optional. And then the question of whether teachers and staff would be required to wear masks unless full vaccination documentation is provided. So that's kind of option A is the mandate. Option B is kind of a twofold option. Mask would be optional. And then the other question is whether staff would be required to wear masks unless documentation is provided.
Those two bullets were really separate. They weren't tied to each other, as I recall at the last meeting.
Correct.
Yes.
So
And-
then
and they
I
are-
do have a question about option A and mask use required in accordance with the mandate. So school districts that already published or already passed their back to school plan that had it as
Optional.
optional because there was no mandate, do they have to go back and change their
Yeah.
back to school plan
That's what's
to
being
record it as following the mandate?
That's the direction from our legal and who is a school attorney. They have multiple districts. So the three district or legal representatives that I've received information from, all three of them have recommended to those districts to go back and change it from optional to mandate.
In regards to option B, I think that we were at a crossroads before we got to that point. And I think option B should stand as the way it was stated in the survey versus the verbiage that's presented here.
Okay. And, well, option, you want to clarify? Because
Basically, what you have struck should not be struck in there. And then the teachers and staff are required to wear masks unless full vaccination documentation is provided, should not be included. So basically, just
That-
stand the way
That
it
was separate.
Yeah, that was
Right, so
separate.
That didn't go with the first one.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that should have been
So really, you're just
added in
voting
without
on-
board.
Really, you're just considering option A or option B as it was stated in the survey.
Then are there other options that we can discuss or consider?
Well, it's either required or optional. I mean, I don't know what other options there would be.
I guess my thought is if it were to be optional, are there certain parameters or thresholds that need to be considered to change it to going to full masking because of issues in our community or outbreaks within our buildings? So let's just use a building, the high school, for example. We make masks optional, but if attendance falls below a certain percentage, I don't know what that threshold would be. I'm just going to say, let's throw out 95%. Because we have multiple people quarantined or there's an outbreak, then the masks have to go on. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Is there any sort of
well, that's
is there any sort of compromise to all of this?
well. We talked about last month, and we talked about metrics, right? What are the metrics going to be used by the county health department in regards to whether they come in and shut the school down, or whether my concern is if this route is how do we get out of this? So what are those metrics? And they will not come out and have not come out and stated what those metrics would be. Now, I guess the board could direct us to,
Can we? I just feel like there's got to be more than just this way or this way. Is there any meeting in the middle? I know that there are plenty of people that we need to protect. And I'm not worried about our kids being sick, but I'm worried about kids taking it home to grandparents that they live with or elderly family members that they're around a lot, or immunocompromised siblings. Or we have kids in our district that have to go to school because we don't have an option for them to stay home. So is there some sort of give and take here?
And I do agree with you, Jill. I think there is there a third option we can go with. I am worried about everything you said about taking this home, but I'm also worried about, some of the comments that I heard, the social and emotional well-being of these kids. We need to get back to a normal school day. I work at a mask all day long. It's difficult to hear people. It's difficult to understand people. If you're getting taught things a lot of time for the first time, anything you lose in that is going to be detrimental, not only today, but next year when you build upon what you learned today. So is there a happy medium? One of the things I thought about, in trying to find something that not necessarily pleases everybody, because that's probably not going to happen in this, but, when we, for example, go to a restaurant this weekend in Indianapolis, I would wear my mask in, I sat down at my table, I took my mask off and enjoyed my meal. Can we do something like that here? You walk into school, you wear your mask, you take it off when you get in the classroom, you get in your seats and ready to learn for the day. So in the areas where there's a high population of people, you've got your mask on. But when you get in for time to learn, your mask goes off, you learn as if normal. When you get up, you put it back on again. Is that a third option?
When you're close to people, you have. I just feel like, and I agree with. I see everyone's point here.
Absolutely.
But I also am very compassionate towards the people that can't protect themselves.
And then I think we should make the option to wear the mask.
Aren't providing them an option to be educated
Absolutely.
remotely. So, we're going to make part mad, the other part. There's no winning for everyone here. There isn't. So if we could just find a way to come together with a compromise. And are there options?
I looked up research about vaccines, and it says many people are considering getting the vaccine because they want to protect high-risk people in the community. You may have heard experts say we need 90% of the population vaccinated. taking the vaccine will not protect others from contracting SARS-CoV-2, the virus. The experimental vaccine does not prevent transmission of the virus, and it does not aid in achieving herd immunity. And another study from the AMA said children should not be forced to wear masks. It says that within minutes, it can change their carbon dioxide level to unsafe levels. And I know that can be true because I had a doctor's appointment today for an ortho, and I had a mask on for maybe an hour. I get in there and they take my oxygen level. She said, wow, your oxygen level's way down. Take off your mask and take some deep breaths. So that was only after an hour. Can you imagine having to wear it all day?
And the other thing I want to talk about is the other side of this is the numbers that everybody talks about, our number of cases. So I went out to the CDC's website today and pulled the 7-day rolling data from today and the past 7 days. And our percentage changes are down 22.86%. Our deaths are an asterisk, which means 0, and our percent positivity is down 0.16%.
And they said children have died from COVID worldwide. None. There's been none.
And while there may be counties in Illinois that are in that heightened critical category, Effingham County is not one of those. I'll be happy to cite sources.
And the House is trying to pass a bill that says that that they're not going to be able to, the mandates are illegal and they won't be able to force schools to do the mandates and take their federal funding. They won't be able to do that.
I've got a question. Can I ask a question?
I'm not sure. Yeah, if we can answer it.
Well, I mean,
I'm
so
not sure.
with these options, are there disciplinary actions that are being talked about with this? Well, I mean, what's going to happen if you pass this mask mandate? What's the disciplinary action for a kid that refuses to wear one?
Well, usually we go through and we ask them to wear a mask. If they refuse to do it, then they're over time, they're being insubordinate. So there has to be some sort of consequence. Now, our administrators don't.
How many students does it take to be insubordinate, I guess?
What I'm saying is to put it, if that's the direction of the board, then the administration will try to implement it. That directive is the best we can. That's all I can answer to you. You can be hypotheticals all we want, but if that's the directive from the board that we're gonna have this, then we'll implement it. So
Okay,
to answer the question, back to clarify, Chad, the stricken part, if you just leave that in, that is what was in last discussion. So option B would be mask use is recommended for people who are not fully vaccinated, including students, teachers, and staff. However, this one prevention strategy will be optional. That would be
I
option.
don't think it should say they should be fully vaccinated. Because there's nothing that proves that vaccinations prevent spreading it or.
okay, I think that the thing to do first, before we talk about what an optional strategy would be to first decide whether that was going to be the path we pursued or whether we were pursuing the mandated policy. Because obviously there would be a lot of considerations to consider if it became optional, a lot of things that we haven't really even considered yet. So I figured that that's really the first step. And I'll take a moment, throw my own thoughts out here. I certainly understood everything that people said here tonight, and we received a lot of emails too, really on both sides, and everybody has a strong opinion, and I don't think anybody wants to be wearing a mask. That would be kind of silly to say. I think that, and some of you did allude to the fact that this isn't just a decision based on that for us as a school board, because a lot of it comes down to the mandate. It comes down to the funding. And I know that that's easy to throw that out. But in the same sense, the state funding, not the federal funding, but the state funding really pays for almost everything we do in our schools. It pays for all of our teacher salaries, for instance. It pays for our coaches' salaries, all of those things that are so important that we have to have. So does that mean that we would lose that? Well, we don't know. That's an unknown, but that is certainly something that's a possibility. So we have to think about that too. There's legal liability involved also for the school district and also for board members, personal liability, which we got the memo on today, if you read about that too. So that's something else. So I'm just throwing that out because I think our hearts understand what everybody's saying, but sometimes that isn't the only consideration too. So.
Yeah, I can't just, state and federal funding, nobody really knows. I mean, that's obviously been put out there by ISB and the governor. With ESSER money that's coming, there is on the application, we do have to mark on there what our stance is in regards to safe reopening. That's why the plan was sent out. So what impact that would have, I have no clue.
And ESSER money is how much?
ESSER 3 will be $4.5 million. So if you ask me, well, would that be affected? I can't answer that. It's out there to be affected. State, it depends on, recognition status and all that. That's been thrown out there, but until somebody actually does it, I'm not sure what steps are going to be taken. I would just tell you from my experience, I don't think that would have been said if they weren't going to take steps. Now, whatever the board decides, we'll implement 100% fidelity. So just want you to know, moving forward, there's all sorts of possibilities going on there. So
just.
Can I say something? I'd like to say something. Okay, my name's Kyle Nieberty, former alumni of Effingham. It sounds like if funding's the issue, you're being exploited by the state. That's exploitation. So if you're being exploited, you probably ought to do the opposite, not because it's not in the best interest of the students. You're being exploited for money. $4.5 million. Reconsider. Sure. What you're doing is right. I agree.
Any decision made by the board, remember, can be revisited as well, and probably ought to be. We're asked and required to be revisited on a 6-month basis. But when you talk about, are there steps that can be implemented and looked at as if we get to a certain point, then we need to go to mask, or if we're optional, or if we're optional, then we are mask mandated to go to optional. We can try to reach out to other districts that may be in that same boat, see what their plan is, but just to pull those numbers out of the air.
I think I'm with Jill. There has to be another option. The governor has made this decision statewide, whereas before we had districts that, they considered the activity and so forth. And I just think that until some other districts step up, they're not forced to make any other options.
Why can't we be that district? Why can't we be that district?
Oh, I understand.
Right, we should be that district.
And I don't think that we're going to get those other options unless other school districts take that step.
A great example of standing up if Effingham does it, and our kids that are here see that. what a great example to the state and to the governor that we are going to stand up for our kids for once.
And if 75% of the school districts in the state decide we're not wearing masks, are they going to take money back from all of them? They're going to have any schools left. You're right.
Hold on, please.
I have a question for Mrs. Gloucester. You said that the board can be held personally liable, but I don't know if that's actually legally the case. I think, HB 2789, where it says the school board the members personally can't be held personally liable. So I didn't know if what you said was really accurate.
Yeah.
Can you have that?
I'll try to answer some of that without the information in front of me. There's a thing called tort immunity, and as a board, having tort immunity coverage is pretty strong until you don't follow. If a mandate is there, at least from a legal opinion, if the mandate is there and the board or the district decides not to follow that, they are then violating and would not probably be covered with tort immunity coverage.
The lawyer's language was wanton and willful negligence, I believe.
So, right or wrong, you have a government entity saying you will mandate, the ISBE, IDPH, and the governor say you will do this, and you willfully and wantonly don't do that, then you do open yourself up to some tort immunity. That's because the district's made a choice. Right or wrong, that's how that works.
But the governor doesn't have the authority to make that.
Well, that will probably be determined at some point.
That's why we need to push to make somebody make that. If we just follow everything that they want to do, nothing's ever going to change.
15 days to flatten the curve is where we start.
So,
I just have one more question. Does a school lose funding if kids aren't present?
Yeah. School funding, state funding, right? We have local funding. Everybody probably got their tax bills today, which is not a good day. However, our district's about 65-35. Well, 35 is cut up between the state and federal, right? 65 is local. Okay, so we're roughly getting around $6.3 million in state funding. To answer your question, it used to be where attendance was the main driver of general state aid. That was overhauled with BEBF about 5 or 6 years ago. Now it's October and March, it's enrollment.
Funding goes down if enrollment goes down.
If enrollment is down, it's in a formula. So it's not if it goes down this year, it's going to go down that much. It's a 3-year average. And so the idea is it's enrollment based upon, I want to say October 31st, don't hold me to it. But that in March, they take 2 times and that's how they do it.
So to finish that question then, so if we unenroll our kids, then that would lose funding. And then that would then make the board want to call the Illinois State Board of Education, IDPH, being like, hey, we're down 40%, we're down 50%. I mean,
that's a theory, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a theory. It's a good theory. Wow. I'm saying it's a theory. I'm not saying. But I just want to make sure everybody understands, and it's been made a comment here. This is not an easy decision for the people sitting around this table, and hopefully nobody whatever the outcome. The people around the table have spent a lot of time and effort, and probably prayer, and just worrying about this decision, and they're trying to make the best decision. Not only for everyone, kids, parents, district. And so whatever outcome is tonight will be what it is for tonight. And could it change in the future? Well, we know if we've learned anything in the last 15 months, things change, right? So I'll be the first to tell you that if we have high transmission, I'd be recommending we go to masks because there's issues with that. So I want everybody to understand that it's not a flippant decision. It's not an easy decision. Some of you may go out of here happy. Some of you may leave unhappy. But whatever that decision is going to be, then we'll institute the best of our ability. If things change, then we'll have to revise the plan. And that again will be a board decision. Okay, so I'd like to go through some more of this if we're okay with that, and kind of before having a decision based on just one area because it affects others. Okay, so the other changes or discussion points that we had were on page 5. We discussed about the district voluntarily collect vaccination information from parents or guardians for students who are fully vaccinated. And there's a little bit of background on that, is that if you're fully vaccinated, quarantining is changed a little bit. So if we know if a student is fully vaccinated, then that can be a positive in that situation. So that's why that would be, we discussed that. If there's a positive case, what Unit 40 would do, our administrators would give a list of close contacts along with notification of those students who are fully vaccinated. So if we do know who the students are that are fully vaccinated, we had a meeting with the health department last week, and they asked for close contacts and if we know who are fully vaccinated. That way they can double check against their information. If we don't know, then we can't tell them. They also will be asking where, if somebody was positive or is positive, where did they, because the schools get a phone call quickly about a student being positive. And so we kind of let the health department know. They would like to know where that test took place. We have people going in different counties. And if it's not in this county, then it goes in the state system and it takes longer. So that's probably one of the questions asked if we move forward, when we move forward. Then the other part, just to clarify, the health department is the entity that places students into quarantine or isolation and when they're released, not the school district. Questions on that from the board? All right, on promoting the vaccine, the idea is understand the district promotes vaccines and vaccine clinics. It's strictly voluntary, but as a role in the process, the district would be working with the health department and promoting those. Visitors, excuse me, it's tied to really kind of the mask on option A or B. In the plan, we'd like to have visitors, mentors, volunteers, and activities involving external groups be allowed in Unit 40 buildings. However, option A is that per the accordance with the executive order, all participants will be required to wear a mask. Or B, it would be the stricken part. However, all participants are encouraged to be vaccinated and should follow the guidelines outlined in this plan. So it's really kind of, again, an option, back to the optional or not. The decision in regards to the mask use impact this part. Okay. And then plan review. The plan's got to be flexible moving forward. The district may add or modify measures to classrooms, school buildings, or entire district as needed during the school year to possibly prevent closures. The one thing I think last year when we started, most people thought, me included, that we were hopefully could get 2 weeks in before we got shut down. And that didn't happen, thank goodness. And we hope that doesn't happen again this year. But that's really somewhat out of our control. Though we want to prevent that if at all possible. Those additional mitigations may include cleaning, masking, or modified schedules. Now, that can be adjusted as decisions are made this evening, but just the idea that, as I've said, as we move forward, the plan's going to have to be revisited as things change. And then on page 7, the additional details, I just added in the IHSA parameters. Those came out about a day out. Everything's coming out different days, so I'm not sure exactly what data came out. But from the IHSA director themselves, that the all sports policy requires masks to be worn for all indoor IHSA athletic events, regardless of an individual's vaccination status. This mask directive for indoor activities applies to student athletes, coaches, officials, game personnel, and fans.
No.
The masking mandate applies to all IHSA fall sports practices and contests that are conducted indoors. The masking directive also applies to any winter or spring IHSA sports conducting open gyms, conditioning, or weightlifting. So if that's from the IHSA, if the board wants to do something different, then we'll need that directive. And then the final couple things, absences due to documented health department quarantine or isolation will not count when calculating semester exam exemptions. The curriculum committee met last week and have a recommendation for the full board on next Monday that not having attendance be a part of the exemption process. So we'll be presenting that next Monday to the full board. The curriculum committee will, in regards to criteria for the second semester. Okay. So are there any questions, concerns with top of page 5? We're talking about close contacts. We're talking about voluntary vaccination information from parents or guardians. And then also just a clarification that the health department's the authority on placing quarantine or isolation. The other item is promoting vaccines. We'll be working with the health department to promote vaccines, voluntary vaccines.
I don't think we should be promoting vaccines. Vaccines, it's from the AMA, and there's jillions of different pages that shows that vaccines do not work. They're experimental. Here's a picture of a box, off of the box that you buy that the masks are in, and it says, warning. This product is an ear loop mask. The product is not a respirator and will not provide any protection against COVID-19 or other viruses or contaminants.
This is about vaccines.
Yeah, I'll comment on this. If we could, so we can talk here. This section in the plan isn't about promoting vaccines per se, because of course, whether you are for or against vaccines is a personal issue. That's not what we're saying here. But it says with the county health department, it would just be that there would be a clinic and for vaccinations, not that we're giving them, not that we're recommending people go. It's just, that's part of the plan that we are supposedly required to do. So that's what that meant. It wasn't like we're going to stand up and say, for everybody, that's a good thing.
Might want to make it vaccination opportunity instead of promoting vaccination.
Right.
Because again, it's a
Right.
choice, just a choice.
Right.
I know, but
Can I make a comment? I'm in sales, and promoting something is recommended.
Well, that's what he
Yeah.
just talked about. So we'll consider that. He just suggested we change the word promoting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I assume
What-
under 18
what do you
will
wanna
still
say?
need a parental signature? So.
Pardon me?
Under 18 will still need a parental
Sure,
signature.
sure. Yeah.
I don't understand why promoting the vaccine for the majority of people in these schools are all under 18. They can do it without their parental signature.
And it's not FDA approved.
Right.
And.
All right. So moving
Did you want to change the word chat
Yeah.
promoting
vaccination
else.
opportunity. That's what I put in.
to what?
opportunity.
Hey, the visitors is tied to the masks part, so we'll have to have a discussion or outcome on that. Plan review moving forward, just to make sure everybody understands that it's going to have to be flexible moving forward. As the situation changes, the board may have to make some different decisions, one way or the other. And then on the IHSA part, I shared with you from the IHSA director and from that group what their expectation and what their mandate is. If you ask me what's going to happen if you don't, I don't know. But it could be where those aren't allowed, the games aren't allowed. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. It
Well, that's
depends on
certainly a subject that could be revisited, and I would think that our conference would have, probably some
Financial.
thoughts once they met and so on.
Well, if it comes down to accreditation, we're not, if we would lose accreditation, right?
Yeah, because IHS, I don't know if it's a bylaws, but rules when we approve being a part of that group, is that you have to be accredited with the ISBE to be a member of the IHSA. So
if we lost accreditation, we couldn't be on the IHSA anyway.
And then the last part was in regards to attendance and on the finals policy. And the curriculum committee is making a recommendation to the full board next week to kind of address that issue. So are there any clarification questions in regards to?
Can we get clarification on the IHSA rules again?
Okay.
I guess the clarification in my mind is everyone's talking about funding and money, but a repercussion could be accreditation loss, which may not. Is accreditation tied to funding? Are they two separate things? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, accreditation, I'm not sure that's a word we'll use. I think the funding situation is probably tied to that, but it's also separate. So I'd keep that over here on the side. The accreditation part would go to worst case scenario, could affect IHSA. If you're not accredited, then you can't be a part of IHSA. Again, that's worst case scenario. That's the outcome. Long term, I don't know if that's short term, if that's long term. I imagine we'll find out pretty quick because I don't know that all 860 school districts are going to be mandate.
What would come first? Accreditation or funding? Funding or accreditation?
Well, I think probably
what's a longer process?
My gut would tell me accreditation would be first.
And is there a due process for that?
I'm sure there is. Don't ask me what it is because I've never been through it, so I don't know for sure.
Also, as far as accreditation, you lose accreditation, and you're not just losing IHSA privileges. There's other things that come with that. Our group health plan, is that tied to?
Yeah, I'm not sure that is, but long term, I don't know how that affects diplomas and those types of things, and how does higher ed look at that? Those are things that are longer term. I can't answer. To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know too many districts that have been. That's not unaccredited. Is not the word.
That's not a word.
Yeah, I can't think of the other word. But yeah, I think that'd be the first. My gut tells me that'd be the first step by ISBE because that'd probably be a little easier and less time consuming than the financial part. But both of those are options from the state. We'll know pretty quick if I'll just say this, if we go with if the district goes with mask optional, we'll know probably in September about the ESSER grant because we got to finish that here in August, early September.
What's the word you're looking for? Recognized and unrecognized?
Yeah, I don't know, it's probably been on that wall right behind you. Right up there. Does it recognition? Thank
Fully
you.
recognized.
Appreciate that.
I don't know that anyone wants their child to go to a school that's not fully recognized.
What does unrecognized mean? What does that entail?
That's what he's saying, he's not
Yeah.
sure.
We're not sure.
We
what
know
that
there's an impact. I don't want to sit here and say this, and this, because that's not going to be a full list of what that impact it could be. I'll be honest with you, I've never been through that, never seen a district be unrecognized
I mean,
before.
teachers are gonna teach any different if we're not accredited and the curriculum's different?
Well,
Probably not.
Those are super long-term effects, though. We're like, what we know for sure is I've already pulled two. One of my children dropped out of school because of this, and the other one we were put in private school already. So you know you're gonna have kids pulled, no matter what. You're gonna have kids pulled. That's for short term. Right now, let's stick with what we know. We know that's gonna happen 100%.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to throw into the discussion? Jill? No?
I'm good.
Okay. Steve? Sorry, forgot you were there.
I'm still here.
Would you like to say anything, Steve?
I can say that this sucks to be a board member meeting.
Anything else? Any other wisdom?
Do we know that the school district that said they were not wearing masks, anything? I mean, they got threatened, but do we know if anything else has happened?
No, not on that front, but I will, since you asked, I will share with you, I was on a meeting today with Wabash Valley IASA, which is basically the southeast part of the state. And then also in our ROE as well. And so just going down, again, some of them have board meetings tonight, some of them next week. And some of them don't know what their board's going to do. So I would just tell you from the recommendations that they're going to hear, okay, there are only 3 that I'm aware of 4 in the IASA Wabash region that mentioned that they may go to recommended.
Out of how many?
Out of, there's about 28. Okay. From the information of the people that were on the meeting that I attended with the ROE, 8 saying they were going to be recommending mandating, 2 not sure, and 1 was, 2 not sure. What did I say, 8 mandating and 2 not sure. Now, whether their boards go in that direction, that is yet to be determined, because the board meetings are being held tonight and forward. That's kind of where that information is at.
Okay. Ready? Ready to make something? Okay. If someone wants to make a motion to adopt the plan for safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services for 2021, and then you would need to clarify some options added to that in your motion.
I would like to make that motion with option B, making masks recommended.
All right.
The verbiage that you have, so option B. believe it should be option B recommended.
Yeah, for visitors.
Without required documentation. And I'll second the motion.
Okay, can you say again what you were changing?
Without, basically, we're going with.
Just the
option
first bullet with the marking out gone. What you're saying, including
Yes.
students, teachers, and
Yes.
staff. Okay. Everybody understand what he's saying there?
Yes.
Okay,
And then,
So he's saying, going against the mandate.
correct. It would say mask use is recommended for people who are not fully vaccinated, including students, teachers, and staff. However, this one prevention strategy will be optional. That's the wording, correct?
That is correct.
so for
Okay,
clarification, do we
Yes.
clarify on page 6?
all right, and on page 6, I believe that's probably the visitor section. Brad?
Yes, option B also.
Now, the stricken part or the underlined part? Because here's the underline. It says, however, all participants who are not fully vaccinated are required to wear a mask. For visitors, mentors, and volunteers who are fully vaccinated, provide documentation. Wearing a mask is optional. Or all participants are encouraged to be vaccinated and should follow the guidelines outlined in this plan.
You wanted as stated without the correction.
That's stated without the correction.
So the stricken part.
Yes, the stricken part should be included, the highlighted should not.
However, all participants are encouraged to be vaccinated, follow the guidelines outlined in this plan.
Yes.
Okay,
Option B.
Is there
how about I restate this?
is there any other?
On page 2, under option B, I just want to make sure we're not including the part that says teacher and staff are required to wear masks.
Right.
Not
Correct.
the second bullet.
And then and on the IHSA part, on the last page, they would not be required to wear masks during practices and so forth.
Clarification, but for events.
Events will have to be determined later based on whether it's a home or away game, in my opinion.
Okay, so are we striking the last paragraph?
Just one moment.
I guess the clarification is it for all events, or we just, you mentioned practices?
I'm wondering whether we just strike the whole paragraph.
And have nothing about extracurricular activities?
Just let the mask policy stay the way it is. It's optional, recommended, but optional. Because that bullet point confuses. Because it may be determined by the event, but if we just take it out, then the mask policy that we're promoting, or that we're offering up.
Is the mask policy regardless?
Okay, so clarify then.
So you're just saying take that entire bullet out?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, is that all reception? Okay, yes, we will. I'm gonna have Brad repeat it all. And probably, or do you want me to, I've got it marked here. Okay, I'm just gonna state it, then you can make the motion. All right. All right. So, I will entertain a motion and a second to adopt the plan for safe return to in-person instruction and continuity of services for 21-22 including these clarifications. On page 2, mask use, option B will state mask use is recommended for people who are not fully vaccinated, including students, teachers, and staff. However, this one prevention strategy will be optional. Then on page 5, instead of promoting vaccination, the heading will read vaccination opportunities. On page 6, under visitors, option B will say, however, all participants are encouraged to be vaccinated and should follow the guidelines outlined in this plan. And on page 7, under additional details to Unit 40 reopening plan, the second bullet on IHSA parameters should be stricken.
Make that motion.
A motion by Brad, is there a second?
I will second.
Second by Chad. Roll call.
Steve?
Okay, I need some clarification. Okay, my question is, this vote, if I vote yes, is a vote against the mandate, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I don't like masks. I think if a person is vaccinated, it should be optional. I think if somebody is not vaccinated, it should be recommended. However, our lovely state has basically threatened, and it is a threat of pulling out of funding from our schools, and 4.5 is a 4.5. But more importantly to me, and this is just the personal ramification, I, as a board member, can be charged by our Attorney General for child endangerment, which I'm pretty sure is a felony offense. And in my line of work, if I am charged, not convicted, just charged with a felony, my business and all of my income can be suspended. My family, I don't know how that would go over. Again, I don't like masks, I don't hate masks, but from the threats that I've received as a board member now, for the ramifications that will affect me and my family, I'm sorry, but my vote is no.
Need to please respect everybody's vote here, please. Thank you.
Okay, Robin?
No.
Brad?
Yes.
Bill?
No.
Jane, yes. Chad?
Yes.
Kesha?
No.
Okay.
So 3-4, right?
What a three.
4 days. Okay.
Okay, so we need to go back to emotions again.
I guess the question would be, I'm assuming it's the mask issue. So if I'm wrong here, tell me.
Well, you want to, yeah, I guess the only other thing that is not tied to the mask is the IHSA one is too, but it's a little bit different. I don't know. It's kind of different.
Is there
You want me to
a different
make
motion?
another motion? Okay. Do you want to make a motion? You want me to word it?
I'd rather you have, well, I mean, this is so hard. And I have compassion for everybody here, especially you. It's just a difficult decision, you know? But I'm kind of going along with Steve. I mean, I think we have to let this ride out a little bit and go along with the mandate. I mean, I think that's the safest thing to do. I mean, if we go with the mandate, then simply it's instating the masks. I don't think there's a whole lot to discuss really.
Yeah, I don't either. So you want to just, okay. So if we go back and just word the other options, then it would be.
So be option A.
I would entertain a motion and a second to adopt the plan for safe returning to in-person instruction and continuity of services for 2021-22 with these clarifications. On page 2, under mask use, would be option A, indoors mask use is required in accordance with the governor's executive order of August 4th, 2021. All individuals are required to wear masks. On page 5, it would still be vaccination opportunities. On page 6, under visitors, it would be, however, all participants are required to wear a mask in accordance with the governor's executive order of 8/4/21. And is the IHSA section staying or being stricken?
You have any thoughts on that?
What's
Just
the question?
specifically the IHSA.
At least not require the mass in the practices in our school district. Just
So be the, if
the
I'm,
only thing, that's really the only thing we can control.
so it'd be the masking directive, also what's in here. So this would be stricken. Masking directive also applies to any winter or spring IHSA sports that may be conducted, open gyms, general conditioning, and weightlifting.
Is that going against the mandate to?
This is from the IHSA, which is, it's not the governor's mandate, it's from the IHSA.
But the governor's mandate is to wear masks indoors. So if you take that away from wearing masks indoors, then you're going against the mandate. So my decision would be to fully comply with the mandate.
To leave the whole section in?
Yeah.
Okay. So the section on page 7, the page 7 section on the IHSA would remain. All right. So I would need that motion. Okay, motion by Dasha. Is there a second? I'll second that motion. Roll call.
Robin,
Yes.
Brad,
No.
Jill,
This pains me because, again, we haven't been able to discover all alternatives. When we talk about sporting events, we haven't even talked about if we have testing, if we have testing, then so it doesn't address that. I feel like the alternatives that we talked about, that I brought up before, weren't even addressed. So do I vote no for both of them? I don't know. I can't take the personal liability that Steve talked about. If me and my family are personally liable for decisions that we make around this table, I can't take it. There's no possible way. So I guess that I have to vote yes.
okay, no. Tad,
No.
Desha,
Yes.
Steve. Steve,
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay, motion's carried. Yeah, okay, we'll take a 5-minute break.
Yes. We're still live.
If our children are wearing masks and they drop dead during a sporting event, or
That's not anything that we can discuss right now.
All right. No good answer.
So the governor's mandate, exactly why is he saying that we need to be mandating this? Why?
Well, the numbers in Illinois are on the rise right now, and that's like you saw in Effingham County last week, at 24 cases, and 19 of those were 30 and younger. So it's totally shifted from the way it was last year when it was all older people. I think that's a concern, and they supposedly, the medical people say this Delta variant is.
But they said it's not as serious, so if masks don't work, masks don't
Well,
work.
Everything else.
No, they
I
don't.
mean, they're not 100%, they're not 100%, but they do, it is one factor that is working. One of the things that they saw.
So basically, we're making them wear masks just because the governor says so.
No, we're making them wear masks to try to make them as safe as we can.
It's not going to though. If they said you're
That's
just as
your
safe,
opinion, and I
not.
respect you.
Yeah,
Steve's got one.
You need one?
Yes,
Are you going
please.
to go into closed?
We are. Let me see, I don't,
I thought we had it on the agenda.
yeah, we do. We don't have anything else before closed session. We're gonna go into closed session, right? Right, when we come back.
Steve, you need a water?
Yes, please.
Go for something stronger,
Not on
Steve.
video.
Yes, we are.
That's true.
He's not on video.
And
Just, I want to make sure everybody's aware. It said-
Okay, we're still on.
I understand. I want to make sure, I've said this over and over and over. This plan can be revised, so, I mean, my thoughts are, we still go and look at what our other options are, because who knows what, in a month or 2 weeks or what.
so you go with the mandate and then you throw things in,
You
like
can always,
Brad talked about.
and you can always see what happens, you
Break,
know, I mean,
massive
week
breaks.
to week, everything has been changing, things may, you know.
Well, like, what I think she's, thinking about is sporting events.
He's not.
No.
He's
I
just.
said-
He's just doing it because he can do it.
I have a senior that graduated, and I told him, I said, Nathan, I'll take you to Terre Haute. My company has apartments in Terre Haute, and I was ready to take you. And he didn't want to do that. What she was saying, Gracie, it's so hard.
It is, and it's not good, and I don't think anybody thinks it's good, but
Nobody.
mask or no mask, it's not gonna be normal. It is not gonna be normal.
But the governor won't change anything until we stand up to him, and he's.
Yes, exactly. You have to stand up to him.
Well, he's never done anything. He's threatened many things.
Yes, but
That's-
never
Done
done
nothing, exactly.
I'll do this, I'll do that, and it just.
That's all it is, all talk.
Every other.
Because he knows you're gonna fall into
Every
place.
state around us does whatever they want.
Right.
Okay,
But how do we stand up to that if we're not defendable?
I'm
Like,
sure
do
I'm
we
sure
lose
you
our
could-
retainer with our attorney?
No, they would still have to defend the district. Now, whether they could or not, I mean, but they would still defend the district.
okay, I need a motion and a second to enter into closed session.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Brad,
Second.
second by Jill. Roll call?
Robin,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Jill,
Yes.
Jane, yes, Jack,
Yes.
Jessica,
Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
And he needs to turn us off.
And I totally get the